Hello, Thomas. How are you on this Foreign Friday?
I'm looking forward to going through the Hong Kong part of the Hong Kong card.
Oh,
And
yes.
I'm lovely day. It's beautiful out, and I'm looking forward to going spend a little time outside.
Yeah, it's a nice day outside. We got a little bit of mid fall summer in the Chicagoland area where it's going to be what, 75, 78 degrees tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to getting out, playing that last round of golf. Wanted
Or
to,
two or
before we
three.
go, what's that?
Or two or three.
Yeah, maybe two. Yeah, I'll probably play 18 holes 2 or 3 times by the time I'm done because that's how I play. But the
Mm-hmm.
wanted to talk a little bit real quick about last week's experience down at the Everest race. Tom had a scratch. His top pick got knocked out. So his top two picks combined for an exacta that I think paid like $279. Is that right, Tom?
No, $427.
427. That was the $2 version, right?
That's a $2 version. Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
I
what I
think when
thought. So
well when I looked at it online, it was they showed the $1 payout. But in any case, we both had that undefeated horse that came on to win as was originally your third pick, scratched up into your second, was remained my third pick. But between the two of us, because of the scratch and the common horse, we had 5 horses between the two of us. Had you boxed those in a superfecta, did you happen to see what that paid?
no, I don't remember, to be honest.
So had you boxed those 5 horses between Tom and I in that $9.7 million race, or whatever it was, that for 20 cents, it paid almost $1,400, Tom.
That's very good.
So
And
sometimes
those aren't easy races.
So, I think the moral of the story is don't listen to either one of us specifically, but kind of absorb everything that we're talking about, because I'm sure Tom makes good points. I make good points. The folks who do their own handicapping, they have their own way of looking at things. And then, just kind of look at it both and say to yourself, maybe, you know what? I kind of like what these guys have to say about that guy, and let's go ahead and take care of that. Nice pick 4 yesterday. I went with Charles instead of you. Well, that's the mistake you're going to make. You're going to learn sooner or later, Barry. Actually, I hit both of them, and I can't understand why you didn't do the hot dog pick 4 for $18. Your guy is talking about betting 500 to 1,000 on a winner. You could do an $18 hot dog version, and I think that paid like $300.
You should be very happy with those because you got them both.
It was a good day yesterday. Yeah. I started implementing a few new things in my handicapping at home. From some of the stuff, we talk about, you and I and others, about some of the stuff off scene that we're working on to try to get better at our handicapping. And some of it's starting to really play out, like those left arrow horses, Tom. It's unbelievable how much they hit. It's scary to me.
Well, you said the trending has been very consistent with those. And but is it by are you finding it by track or by, are you doing better at like Keeneland or Aqueduct or
doesn't matter? They hit everywhere.
Okay, so it's not
a one track phenomenon. No, it hits everywhere.
So if you go to Fresno, you're having the same types of results.
I don't do much at Fresno, but because I tend to be a money pool player.
I'm just throwing a minor track out there as a point of reference.
Yeah, I tend to be a money pool player because a good friend of mine, his father, when I was growing up, Mr. G, used to be a professional blackjack player, and he really stressed the importance. He says, Rich, if you're going to be lucky, you got to make sure you get paid for that luck. You don't want to use your 1 in a million with 10 cents in the slot machine if you put in $2. So instead of getting the $1 million pool, you get the $100 pool. So you always want to make sure you get maximum payout. So that's been a lesson I've carried throughout my entire life. Whenever I'm gambling, I want the maximum payout. So I play the bigger money pools. I don't really mess around too much with the smaller tracks. But in any case, Sha Tin, that's a pretty big money pool, I'm sure, over in Hong Kong, right?
Yeah. Well, Hong Kong racing is very rich overall. I mean, and for me at least, the thing I really like is it's only the major races where you get short fields. All the rest of them, you get at least 12 horses. And when you break it down, in my mind, I find at least 6 of them have a chance
to have a chance to win. Yeah, I wrote down every race I went through. I was just looking real quick. I know I pulled it up, but I lost it somewhere. So just give me 2 seconds here. Talk a little bit about the Sha Tin track and some of the things that we'll find in common with North American racing.
Well, I mean, it's a flat track, so there's not ups and downs and over and around type of situation. Outside posts are generally a disadvantage. Of course, there's always exceptions there. This also has all weather and a turf course, and it does have a straightaway turf course too. So it's a little different than Happy Valley. Happy Valley is 1880s track and wedged right in with apartment buildings and other areas, so it makes it a little different. Sha Tin's the newer track, and both of them are tough. Really the biggest difference is Happy Valley generally does not race in the daytime. It's an evening track, whereas the Sha Tin is generally a day track.
Okay, so they're going to be running in the day. That was my next question. Are they running tonight into tomorrow morning, or are they running tomorrow night into Sunday morning?
Yeah, it'll be Sunday.
So Sunday.
So Saturday, this is going to be Saturday. So Saturday night into Sunday.
So this is going to be absolute insomnia racing, not tonight, but tomorrow night, because I think some of these post times are like 3 a.m. All right, so I wanted to pull up the weather. So the weather is going to be very nice there. There's not going to be any rain, so the track should be firm. I think most of the races we're doing on, if not all of them, are on turf.
They're all turf, yeah.
So we should get a nice turf course, the horses to run on, not like last time where it was pouring rain when we went to Sha Tin. This time around, it's going to be nice. So that first race we're going to deal with is the 6th race. This one is the SHRIKE handicap. It's supposed to go off at about 3:35 a.m. Eastern on Saturday night into Sunday. So absolute insomnia racing. This one's 1 mile on the turf course. And of course, as always, we have our picture of what the track looks like. So 1 mile on the turf course. I think that is what, 1,800 meters, Tom? Is that right?
1,800, yeah.
So they're going to come around here, one turn. So sort of like the 1-turn mile tracks here in the United States.
Yeah, with the exception of they're going clockwise rather than counterclockwise.
Or put more commonly, they're going backwards.
Yeah.
So we look at this first race we have up in here. So I will link to this website in the recap on horseracingtoday.net so that you can have access to all of this information. But here they have all the different horses that are running. Right now, it's an 11-horse field. If you look up in here, though, you have a little bit of extra content to help you kind of get a sense of what the race might look like. So the first thing we're going to look at, Tom, is we're going to look at the Speed Pro to get an idea of what the shape of the race might look like. It says, the paces in this race is drawn wide, and Circuit Stellar and Encountered can come across together and lead this field. Golden Link can push up from his draw and get into a trailing position. Wide Blue Yonder can go forward from his draw and get into one outback position. It looks like Tricky Chevalier Prince, and he may be trapped wide, and Secret Vision is likely to go back from his draw to avoid racing wide. So Circuit Stellar and Encountered, they look like they're going to be the pace setters, Tom. Again, I'll link to all of this information over at horseracingtoday.net so that you have it. Now, Tom, let him have it with your picks.
Well, I did take one of the front runners, and that's number 7, Encountered. It has 2 starts this season. It's got a 3rd and a 6th. The last run comment was 1 pace. Yeah, but it won its closing race last season, and they're making a jockey switch to the top jock, Zach Putin. And I really think that helps a lot. And yeah, the outside is a negative, but he's very good at getting horses over. And with the speed of this horse, I think it's got a great chance of going all the way. I took number 9, Golden Link, as my next choice. Last run was at Happy Valley. It went. That's the 5th. It ran a 5th, and it was pushed along to get some speed out of it. It's one of those horses that its first race was a tough trip, and I just tossed it. So it's got a better record at Sha Tin than it does at Happy Valley, and that's important because there are like here, there are horses that like one versus the other, and I think this is one of those horses that does. The number 2, Sight Spirit, I don't know what to make of this horse, and it's been bouncing around in different class races. It wasn't a 90-75 rating horse in Happy Valley. It had issues in that race and ran in ninth. And then in the race before that, it ran in a 105-80 class race and finished fourth. So is it dropping? Is it not dropping? I don't know. It was hard for me to say. I had to put it in. I like the record. It has 10 starts, 3 wins, and a second. And I think breaking from the 5 post will only help its chances.
So for me, as I was analyzing these these races today, I looked at real basic back to form handicapping, where I focused on horses that have done well at the track. Well, first of all, done well at the surface. So we got a good surface on turf. Horses that have raced well at the distance and then at the track. And then what I basically did is I broke down the time. So I ranked my horses number 11, Wide Blue Yonder, as my first choice in here. Wide Blue Yonder has been on a good track 5 times with a win, second, and a couple of thirds. But if I'm looking through its times, this horse looks to me like it improved its times last time out, and also improved in terms of its position at the end of the race. So Wild Blue Yonder looks to me like one that's on the improve, and hopefully
and we should point, when you mention the times, we should point out they break down the times for each, and then final, and then they have that horse specific times. Mm-hmm. And that it's much more detailed than any other tracks that I think we handicap, especially in the foreign areas, because we get a lot of detail on that. So you can break it if you want to look at the speed of a horse or the closing speed. The numbers are really helpful.
They are indeed. And the thing for me about this next horse, I took the 6 horse as my next choice. Tempest Express hasn't done anything at the distance. It's 0 for 7. But when I started calculating out those times and looking at its recent form development, it just looks to me again like this is a horse just based upon its times and its form development is going to move forward, and maybe just been facing off against better quality horses, and that explains the 0 for 7 at the distance. Should get some decent odds on this one, hopefully. Next up for me is number 1, Circuit Stellar. Again, another horse where I'm looking at the times, looking at the form, and is a horse I expect to continue to go forward. Has been at the track 12 times, finished in the money 5 of them, mostly just placings. Again, if you look at I'm looking for horses on the improve here. Last race, it ran 7 furlongs in about 121 and maybe 4. The prior race before that, it was running at about 122 and 2, 122 and 1. So horse definitely moving in the right direction. And then the horse that you had a little bit of question about, Tom, Sight Spirit. That's my 4th choice in here. Horse that's run at the distance 3 times with a win and a second, on a good track 8 times with the 3 wins. And a horse that's making the Classic's 3rd start off a layoff. And again, another one where last time out, it did improve its time. So I'm definitely at tracks that I'm unfamiliar with and unfamiliar with the biases. I'm really focusing on horses that are improving and showing that improvement, not only in where they're finishing relative to the leader, but also running better times. Because you finish closer to the leader, but you ran 2 seconds slower, I don't consider that a better race. Do you?
No.
Yeah, nor do I.
I mean, the only thing I put in there is the draw and how the horse breaks. If it's in form and it breaks the way it normally does, then that post position can play a role in the running of the race.
Race number 7 is the Highway Handicap. This one is another 1,800 meters. So you can see on the chart here, they're going to run around the track from back here and come all the way back around to that finish line. They're going to run backwards, Thomas, in this one as well. Again, we could take a look at the speed map, and according to this, from an inside draw, Enjoying can go forward and hold the rail and the lead early. Money Catcher has been handy in all his Hong Kong starts. From this draw, can get into the trail. Bourbon is another with good gate speed, and he will not be far away. Looking great, and California 10 should be next in that spot there. So I guess if I'm looking at this, it looks like this is the one that they expect to be on the front, and then Money Catcher. So if you're looking at the graphic, this bottom row, I guess, is the way they expect the race to go at the first call. And then the top row is the way I told you it's backwards. All right, Tom. So how do you see race number 7, Highway Handicap?
I took number 3, Celestial Prince, as my top choice. Ran, I think, a good third, considering he was blocked in his last race.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like he needed it, like anything else. But he's won once from 3 starts on the second up, so he has one off a layoff like this. In Hong Kong, he is 17 starts. He has 4 wins and 3 thirds. At this distance, he's got 5 starts and 3 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I think the form is right, and I think the distance is right. That's why I think he's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I took one Money Catcher as my next choice. He ran second at 1,600 meters last out. It was the first start of the season. He used the rail to his advantage, and certainly with draw 4, I can see that happening again. At this distance, he's got 5 starts. He has 2 seconds and 2 thirds. That's why it was a little hard for me to play him to win. Ran second in his last 4 races. Yeah. Maybe a little more distance will help. Who knows? Finally, I'm going to take I think one will be near the pace, is number 2, Bernaire. Really not much in its first start of the season. Ran 11th. It showed speed. In that race, and a comment on there in the line was off the bridle. And that, to me, with this front runner, maybe a little more control will help. And but again, that's a first start. You don't know what they're trying to get out of the horse, in terms of conditioning to get the horse into form. And that may have just been a nice little, let's send him out and see what he can do, and then we'll bring him back and we'll have a better chance next time out.
A little tune-up.
Kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking at it like this, like you. I agree, Tom. The number 3 horse, Celestial Power, is my top choice. Again, at a mile, looking at horses on improved form, looking at their final times. And the Celestial Power is definitely going in the right direction on both of those. As you mentioned, this is a horse that is at the distance, an all or nothing horse. So either put it on the top or you let it run out of the money one way or the other. 5 races at the distance with 3 wins. But on a good track 20 times, winning 6 of those. So 30% winner when the surface is a good one. My second choice is, number 5, Running Glory. Running Glory is a horse that's making it, I think it's considered its first start of the year. I'm not 100% sure. But it does have a couple barrier races.
They have a break from July. August, they don't race, and then they come back in early September. So it's considered different seasons.
Okay. But I do see a couple barrier starts since its last race. I guess you would call that workouts then, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they are essentially? But they get added to the past performance lines.
And they're useful in terms of, the horse has been running.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to win your barrier. That's not the purpose of them. The other part of that with Hong Kong is you can watch these barrier races online. So if you're ever interested in looking at how a barrier race is run, you can do that here and at Hong Kong, and you also do it in Australia. And sometimes that gives you an idea. Sometimes the jockeys are just holding them all back and just looking to get a little workout out of them. They're not really pushing the horse to do anything more than just get it run around with more than one horse.
Get it tightened up a little bit.
Yeah.
So this one does have a couple barrier races. The first one was 6 furlongs, then stretched out to a mile, improved in the mile race compared to the 6-mile workout. It's been at the distance twice with a win and a third in there. And on a good surface has won 5 out of 10. So a horse, again, that seems to like the surface, likes the distance, and I think should be ready in that first start off the third workout. The new handicapping angle.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes. Number 1, Money Catcher. Well, I created that left arrow, so maybe I create another one here, right? First start off the third workout. All right, Hong Kong for race number 7, Money Catcher. This is another one that's had a couple of it had a barrier trial, then actually had a race, it looks like, on October the 1st. Yeah. And in that October the 1st race, it ran second, finishing about 0.3 of a length, so right off the winner. ran that race in 1 minute and 34 seconds. So if you look at that 1 minute 34 relative to everybody else at a mile, it ranks as the third best. That's why I have it as the third best. And it's just a horse that probably does improve in its second real start after a layoff. And it looks to me like this one's likely to be the money line favorite. Right now, I see the odds are at approximately 9-5. So that might be one that if the bettors bet down more, you know it's probably going to be really ready and sharp. And if the odds go up a little bit, maybe a little bit vulnerable in terms of the favorite. Then finally, number 9, Looking Great. This is one that did have a race on September the 25th, it looks like to me. Improved from its barrier where it ran 8th, came back to win its first race after a layoff. And again, just focusing on those times, it won that race in 1:34.4. And the previous time, last July, that the horse ran a mile, it finished 6th by 5 3/4 lengths at 1:35.1. So horse is clearly sharper than it was at the close of last year, and any improvement in race number 2 off the bench for Looking Great, the horse would probably look great in your exacta or trifectas. What happened to top jockey Jay Moreira? Any idea, Tom?
He's injured.
He's hurt?
Yeah, he's been hurt. And hopefully he'll return, but there's some question right now of that. And there's a couple of articles out there on the Hong Kong Jockey Club website on his status. So you
his well-being.
If you want a little more detail, pop on there and you'll find some more stuff. Also, the South China Post is a good resource. Also, besides picks, there are also some good articles in there. They cover racing pretty heavily in Hong Kong because of the popularity.
Yeah, well, how can it be not popular? You have all these high rises right around it. So you talk about a captive audience, it's right there. So race number 8, the Premier Bowl handicap. This one's 6 furlongs, Tom, or it is 1,200 meters. Starts right here and a little bit less than 1/2 of a way around the track. So to come back around, make that turn, come for home at 6 furlongs. Thomas, any idea of what type of race? Do you want to be a front runner at Sha Tin? Do you want to be one that comes from off the pace? What do you want to be?
I generally think closers. We're dealing with a group 2 race, so these are the better sprinters on the grounds, and they're getting prepped for the international races, which will be coming up in December. And this is one of those types of races that will be geared towards when the locals face the ones that are going to be coming from various areas of the world. So the money is big.
Yeah, and just it converts into nothing though. Because I know that firsthand from winning. I'm not degrading anybody's currency. All the money printing that the governments do a good enough job of that on their own. So this one, it looks to me like Computer Patch, Master 8, Cordy, Sep 6, and Stronger look like these are the ones that are probably going to be the ones that are on the lead. Here it says Computer Patch may resort back to leading in this race as he has a tricky draw. Will have no choice but to go otherwise forward. Lucky Swanies has the outside draw. So you can use his good gate speed to get outside the leader. Master 8 can be positive from his draw, get into a trailing position, and it looks hard to pat. I guess this one won last year. Some of this writing is a little bit unusual, so it makes it difficult to read. Either that or I can't read or see that far. It's either A or B. All right, Tom. So this race is going to go off real quickly at approximately 4:35 a.m. Eastern. For some people, they'll just be coming in, and for others, they'll just be getting up. Thomas, which one are you?
Probably, because this is an interesting race, I'd probably be up to watch it.
So you'll be just getting up. All right. So
yeah, I think
when you get up to watch it, how's it going to finish, or how do you hope it finishes?
I'm going to take the class of the field. Number 1, Wellington is my top choice. Hasn't raced since April, but won 3 in a row, and they were in Group 1 and Group 2 races. He's 2 for 3 coming off a layoff. His record at this distance is 12 starts, 8 wins. And even off the layoff, I think he really is the one to beat. Number 11, Duke Hua is going to be my next choice. 2 races this season. They got 2/3. And they were in Class 1 company, and then he moved up to Group 3 company. He showed speed in his last race, got bumped, and really didn't get into the races as he has in the past. Before that start, that last start, he ran 10th, and he was moving very, very quickly at the end. So this looks like a dead closer, and if the times up front are moving, and which it appears to be, this one will be closing very strongly.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, Cordyceptus 6 is my final choice. Really interesting his last 5 races. He's won 3 of them, and he's ran second twice. But he's been moving up in class. He started at 80-60, then he went to 180, then a 105-80, and then 2 Group 3 races, handicap ones. He's had a break from May. Just last start he missed, just missed, but he was impressive, and looks like that form is retained. Is it unusual to see a horse move up like this one did? At times in Hong Kong, yes, but I can't leave him out. I think it's one of those horses that's just you don't know what the upside is going forward.
Yeah, but like that 13 horse last week, right? They don't know until they know. Yeah. And now last week they found out. They know. With I forget what was his name? Giga Kick, right? Giga Kick, now 5-0.
Giga Kick. Yeah, actually, him and Nature Strip are returning on Melbourne Cup Day. That they're not running the Melbourne Cup because they're sprinters, but they are going to be facing off again.
Just a couple quick notes. Again, I'll link to all of this stuff over at horseracingtoday.net in the recap, which we'll put up a little bit later on in the day. But these sheets do have a lot of information in them. I would click on some of these up here, but they have like veterinarian reports, exceptional factors, form line report. They have a couple of other things. You download the race form, so you can download the race form for the entire card, just this race. And if you click, for example, on the name of the horse, Wellington, it'll bring up some information on the horse itself. So you can see Wellington's record here. You can get a little bit more in depth. You can see what happened the last time they put blinkers on, that sort of stuff. So you do get a lot more information available to you. And then down here on the right-hand side, it shows you the gear. So in Wellington's case, you have an X and a B. The B is blinkers. The X being, where's the X? You would think they would be in alphabetical order, right?
No, it's supposed to confuse you.
A cross-nosed band. So you can see the kind of equipment that they're wearing, and then perhaps you click on the horse's name and see if that had any sort of impact on their performance last time out. So I find that they give you a lot of good info.
Also add in there, they'll show the working schedule, whether and even more detail, because they'll tell you if the horse has been swimming, using that as a workout method, because they've got, they use the pools pretty extensively there, in company. So you get really a lot of information, and can be, in my mind, it's sometimes a little overwhelming.
So you can get,
but if you like a horse and you want to see what it's been doing beyond, sometimes that's important. The other thing I do pay attention to is the vet reports, especially if they're post race from a race before. If the horse has been off for a while, I'd like to know why.
Yeah, see what was tender in terms of its reasoning for its coming off. So I agree with you, Tom. Wellington.
If it had breathing issues, as an example, and then had surgery, that can make a huge difference in the horse's performance.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure, because you just don't know how it's going to respond to all that. Wellington is my top choice too, as you mentioned, Tom. Ran at the distance 12 times, won 8 of them. But it's also important to note that the horse is an all or nothing horse. So it's, at least for the most part, it's 12 times at the distance, won 8, nothing else. Lifetime ran 16 races, won 10 of them with a second. So it's all or nothing pretty much for Wellington. So this is one that you have to make up your mind before the race. Is today going to be the all race or the nothing race? Because, well, it's only 92, so it's really not that big of a favorite in there. The next horse for me is number 8, Lucky Swayenays. Yes. Where do these names come from? But anyway, it's one that's been doing the barrier trial stuff as well. It's run at the distance 7 times. Managed to win 5 of them with a second in there and a third. So the horse has never run out of the money. 8 races out, 6 wins, a second and a third. And on a good track, won 5 of 6 with a second. It's clearly a horse that's going to be difficult to beat. And, at 5-1 for a horse with that type of record, I'm pretty pleased with that. Next one down on the list for me is number 9, Cordyceps 6. This one had a barrier race, and then went to the track. Came out, ran a pretty good race. Was only 5 furlongs. So we're going to extend a little bit here. Again, when you look at the horse's times for 5 furlongs, it's not been as fast as Wellington or Lucky Swain A's. About a tick of a second slower, so maybe 0.2 of a second, 0.3 of a second. So it should be right behind them. I wish we had the simulator. What's it called, Tom? I forget the name of it. The predictor. Yes, I wish we had the predictor here. Little suggestion box drop for the folks at Hong Kong. Get yourself a predictor. And then number 11, your horse as well, Duke Y, as you mentioned, one that should be closing in a race that does have a lot of speed. And again, this is a horse, when you look at its form, improved from race to race at 7 furlongs, 1:20.2, finished about 1 second behind that. The prior race it ran at 7 furlongs was a little bit slower than that. So the horse has done okay for me on the upswing. And 21-1, Tom, it's the kind of horse we both might have picked the back half of our picks, but hope that it actually wins because it fattens up the payouts nicely. Race number 9 is the
those closers there too.
Yeah, especially when you got a lot of speed up front, right? Just could help it out a lot. May not win, but certainly can fatten up the exacta and trifecta. The next race again is another. It looks to me like 6 furlong, right? No, this one's 1,200, so that's going to be what, about five furlongs? Tom, is that about right?
1,200 is 6 furlongs.
Oh yeah, 1,200. Why would I think? I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Anyway,
1,100 would be 5.
So here we go again. 1,200 meters or 6 furlongs coming around like that to the finish line. If we again look at the speed map for this particular race, got a lot of horses in here. Victor, the winner, is likely to be the very fastest one out of the gate, according to their form of the early race predictor. Happy Sharing should be right behind. Second. So this is the way they're going across. I get it now. Now I get it. I see. Saquon should be third. So these are the horses that are going to be in the back. It took me 3 races to figure it out. These are the ones that are going to be in the back. They're going to be 3 wide. So it looks like this could be a race where position might be very important. I don't think you want to be this guy, Jazz Club, with all these horses to the outside of you at all, Thomas. Is Jazz Club, coincidentally, your first pick?
Yeah, well, these are very inexperienced horses, too.
Yes, they
relatively speaking. And we've got got a number of, 3, 4 that are coming from various areas of the world, either Great Britain or Australia. So it's a mixed bag when you look at this race, and looking at it that way. I went with number 5, Midori Beauty, is my top choice. In the last 2 races, it ran second. It ran in 2 different racing styles, one on the lead and one from really far back. Didn't win, but it hasn't raced a lot either. His first race was yuck, and that makes one of my concerns because that was a 12 post. This time it's going to be out 14, so it's going to be tough. But I think it's been on the improve, and I think they've been experimenting, and I think the 4th race may be the term. Number 12, Golden Artie is my next choice. I normally don't take horses that are first starting in Hong Kong, and this one is. But let me explain why I did take it. It's coming from Australia. It ran 4 times. It has a win and a second. The win was in a handicap, and it won its first start. The other races are interesting because it has a 4th and a handicap, and then it ran ran 7th, which you wouldn't think was very big deal, but as a 2-year-old, it's running in a listed race. Well, that's a lot better than this bunch. And all those races are at Rosehill. So we're not talking about a minor track in Australia. We're talking one of the premier tracks. I think he's got plenty of speed, and it's one, as I said, I don't normally take firsters. I like to get a race in at Hong Kong, but I just think the background this horse has, and if they're doing anything, anything's positive on this one, I think it's got a great chance. And finally, I'm going to take a win for one who won last time out, which is number 4, Happy Sharing. He wanted this level last time. He was the clear. He beat my choice, top choice. He's shown speed, has been improving on all his races, and frankly, if he's not the favorite, I'll be very surprised.
This one's going to start at 5:10 a.m. Eastern. So where we live, 4:10 in the morning. If you're out on the West Coast, you just as the first set of nighttime establishments close. I don't know what their time out there. When I grew up, all the clubs had to be closed at 2 o'clock. A lot of them now, I don't know if they have those kind of time frames anymore. It's been a long, long time, so they'll have to get it from the kids, I guess. I started off with you, which is interesting. Same horse you did, Tom. Midori Beauty as my first choice as well. Horse has run at the distance 5 times, a couple wins, a couple seconds. Been on a good track 3 times, a win and a second as well in there. Just again, looking at the horse's running, its times improved a lot. Last time out, 108 and 3, about 3/4 of a length behind the leader. Not that much of a difference. So you tack on maybe a half of a second. So 108 and 8. Can run 108 and 8 again. Midori Beauty will be most likely the winner in this race. Number 8, Beauty Tycoon is my next selection. Again, another horse that's on the improve. 2 races back, it finished 12th. Last time out, finished 1st, improving its final time by over 2.5 seconds. So that's definitely, to me, something I'm looking for when I'm handicapping. That's an absolute indication that the horse is getting into shape, and hopefully it takes that shape right into the winner's circle. We're in 7 races at the distance, 1 win, 2 seconds, and a third. So 4 out of 7 in the money. Lifetime on a good track, 6 times, 1 win, 2 seconds, and a third. Victor, the winner, is my next choice, Tom. I mean, you got to have a guy named Winner in your picks anyway. This guy's pretty inexperienced. Tom has only had 1 race in its lifetime, but guess what it did?
It won.
It won. In fact, it's won every race it's been in. Barrier race or one actual real race. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement on this horse. The times that it ran are very competitive with the top horses that I've talked about here today. So in a real race, if it can run just a tad faster, the 11 horse could be one that's undefeated in 2 when the day comes to an end. And then finally, number 4 for me, Happy Sharing. So we are happy sharing our picks today for sure. And this is a horse that just really runs pretty well. Last couple times out, 1st, 2nd, 4th, 3rd. Been really, really close in terms of its performance relative to the leader. And when it has missed, it hasn't missed by more than like a length and a quarter. So it's been really tight to the finish, to the winner at the finish line. And another one that last time out really just improved his time. So I really focused my handicapping on some real basic stuff this week. Horses that are improving their times, horses that look like they're improving in form, horses that like the distance and like the surface. And hopefully that proves to be the winning combination this week. Final race we're going to do, Tom, is race number 10, which is the final race on the card. It is the CUCKOO handicap.
Careful.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying not to mess that one up too much. Again, 6 furlongs. So starting here, coming around the track to end up there. And if we take a look at the early pace, Silvestri looks like it's going to be one that, according to the way they break things out, should get the lead all to its own with Eason and Beluga. Yeah, looking more like they're going to be pressure horses to me than horses that really want to challenge for the lead, at least the way they got this chart drawn up. And then you'll have a whole host of horses coming in behind it. So I would say based upon this race shape, for a race that goes off at 5:45 a.m. Eastern, I think this horse is probably going to be the pace setter, and the right fractions maybe, Tom, can maybe steal that race. Any chance you got that guy in your picks?
No. I went with number 13. Galaxy Witness is my top choice. First start, I tossed. Hadn't raced since June, and it was a nothing race, and it was one it needed. Before the break, it ran 3rd once and won 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So its record is 6 races, 4 wins. I think the level suits. I think it just needed that last race, and I think it's in the winner's circle this day. Number 1, the Golden Scenery is going to be my next choice. It has 2 starts this season, a 6th, and then it got ran 3rd. It missed by a neck last time out, coming from dead last. It is a dead closer. I don't know if there's going to be enough pace in this race for it to catch up, but I think it's going to blow past some of them. and maybe a few more, and that's why I got to put it into my exacta.
It also looks to me like, just from here, maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like to me like the jockey Chung might be an apprentice jockey, because it looks like he's getting a 10-pound allowance too.
Yeah. And then finally, I'm going to take number 3, Packing Victory is my final choice. Won last out by a head and ran on the pace. And in that race, it had some bumping issues. So it overcame problems and still won. First start was a third. Again, had problems. It rushed a horse in that one. But overall, I think it was a good effort, and that form is in form. And I would not be surprised to see this hit the board. And that's why I'm putting it as my third choice.
All right. Well, I certainly wouldn't want you to put, I'm curious. I'm going to go back and see if those dings correspond to ones that you're right with. If it's just like if it's some kind of divine intervention there. So the one you stopped with is ironically the one I start with. Packing Victory. The horse has run at the distance 4 times, 2 wins, a second and a third on a good track, 10 times, winning half of them 5. Been at the Sha Tin course 9 times, 4 wins, a second, a couple seconds and a third in 9 races. So likes the track, likes the distance, likes the going, and sticking to the theme I've talked about all day so far. The times are on the upswing. So I'm happy to see a horse that's running faster in some distance and surface that makes him happy. I happen to have Silvestre as my second choice, and based upon the pace chart that we just saw a couple seconds ago right here, looks to me like Silvestre should have the going on the front as he likes. And if he can get off with some easy fractions, he's a horse that maybe can take them wire to wire, although that doesn't happen all that often on turf. But he's run at the distance 11 times, finishing in the money 8 of 11, 2 wins, a quartet of seconds, a couple of thirds. And a horse that, really hasn't done anything wrong in the last few races. Second, first, fourth, third, first, second. Kind of hard to argue with that record right there. Number 5 is my third choice, Beluga. Beluga is making its first start of the year after doing a barrier trial last race. It is a horse that does have a history of running well off the bench following those barrier trials. I think the surface and the distance are key to this horse, because if it runs on any other surface, then good. It hasn't hit the board yet, but on a good track in the money, 13 of 19. So I'm expecting a good first race out of Beluga. And then finally, last pick of Hong Kong, so probably around 4:45 in the morning around here, Oriental Smoke will be the last pick of the day for me. Again, another horse that's on the upswing, did have a barrier trial, then came out and ran 2 races at 6 furlongs, won them both. Both times was pretty well bet, down to about 2-1 and 5-2 in that debut off the bench. And then it ran its time. It shortened up its time by a little bit. So I expect that you'll see in the third start off a layoff, Oriental Smoke, attract some money again and try to make it 3 consecutive wins in its new season here, Tom.
Yep.
Somebody else who will be looking for a win today is our friend, the Professor. He's got a couple things up today. There's a link in the description down below for the parlay of the day. If you like baseball, take the Padres and the under, and that's a plus 261 on Bet Online. I guess that's where you can watch that one at. And then college football, a minus 120 teaser, UAB plus 7.5 points, and under 64.5. So if you like college football, you like baseball, picks with the Professor, you can find that down there below. If you like professional football, Sean and I, with a cameo appearance from Jared, who's in Hawaii, we'll be talking about the NFL for this weekend. It'll be at 10 p.m. Eastern. All right, Tom. Well, that wraps up our Foreign Friday journey off to Hong Kong today. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up and go home for the weekend?
Yes. If you want to watch these races, they give you great information pre-race. They generally go over every horse in the paddock and what they look like, get some ideas of what they're seeing in the horse. And that sometimes can be helpful and sometimes not, of course, but it does give you a lot more descriptive information than we get, because they'll cover, 1 or 2 horses or 3 horses. Oh, they look good, whatever. And it's, to me, I like this more in detailed, because I picked up on a couple horses and got some nice prices.
So when you say when you watch these, where do you watch them?
I generally I watch it online. You can watch it. They all have the feed coming through because obviously Hong Kong is a very popular track throughout the world, and certainly the racing and the money that's involved there is pretty good.
So are you watching them through like your TVG account or your Naira account, or you just
does
Sha Tin have a feed?
Generally through my Keeneland Select account, which is Twin Spires, and that's where I watch the racing.
Through Twin Spires, fantastic. Yeah, and so we get asked a lot of questions. Like, I cannot tell you how many times people ask me, where can we watch the races? And I would love to be able to send them off to a certain provider that actually does let you subscribe to the races and watch them if you're not betting on them. Because we get a ton of folks outside the United States that watch our show. Thank you. We appreciate that. Please, while you're here, hit that subscribe button or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram below. I assure you that 2023, we're going to have a lot of new stuff, and it's going to be hopefully fantastic. Well, we'll let you be the judge of that. All right, folks, so that wraps it up for this week. I'll be back on Monday with Terry. We'll do Parks on Monday. We'll do Horseshoe Indianapolis on Tuesday. Wednesday, myself and Charles will get back to Keeneland, back to Belmont at Aqueduct on Thursday. Hopefully, we can have another big week like we did this week, even though I did struggle a little bit on that Keeneland part, but made up for it yesterday at Belmont at Aqueduct. I have a great cast of guests lined up for next week, including Tuesday night. The Chantel Sutherland, she'll be joining Jamie and Sean. I can't remember the other one, so forgive me. And then that's it, Thomas.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Should be a fantastic week. And of course, we'll start making our preparations, Tom. Next Friday is the goal to do the international preview for the Breeders' Cup, or do you have something else in mind?
I think we're going to start with that because the draw is on the 24th. We get the pre-entries. We already know some of the ones that are coming from the Europe. One is Nashua, who's been a really good horse there, and another one is Saffron Beach. I know is coming, and I'm curious to see if there's a horse from Japan that gets entered. She would be entered in the filly and mare sprint on the dirt. Really interesting who she's run against in Japan because she's never in the last 10 races she's only faced the males. So, and she's won and in top company. So if that horse gets in, is entered, I really got to take a serious look at that one.
So is that the game plan for next Friday then, to go ahead and do our international preview?
It'll be pre-entry, so we don't know if these horses are going to actually run. But we'll pick out some of the races that are key with foreign entries and take a look and see what we're getting there.
All right, so that's the plan.
Some of these, and we've seen these horses run. Some of these horses, so either whether it's in France or in England, and or wherever. And,
which is why we did this. We started doing this show, right?
Yeah, because Breeders' Cup, there's been a few decent priced horses that have won. And even some medium price horses that have been pretty good.
And then there are some that have won that didn't really race, but won.
Yeah,
we've had everything with these foreign horses, I tell you. All right, Tom. Well, that wraps it up for today. So whether your horse runs and it counts or doesn't, and you know the oddity is it actually wore this number. How about that? And you can get this great. Yes, you can get this great looking gear over at horseracingtoday.net. You'll see in the menu where it says HRT gear. Please click on that. Support the show by subscribing, following us on our social media, telling your friends about us. But you know what would be even better? You can look fantastic in a #1 hat. So go on over to Horse Racing Today. Do that. No matter what else you do for today, Tom, for the weekend, we hope it only ends up in one place. And, of course, you know where that is.
Winners, winners, and more winners. And that's in that big circle.
Indeed. Fantastic. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you on Monday.